My cousin said the cursed well was a joke, now he's gone, and it knows my name. I think my cousin is dead because of me, and whatever killed him is in the room with me now. I'm typing this on my phone, hidden in the pantry of my neighbor's house. The battery is at 14. My name is Tejas. I live in a village so small, it's just a smudge of dust on the map of Rajasthan, a place where the sun bleaches the sky white, and the nights are so dark you can feel the stars watching you. We have stories here, the kind that are baked into the mud walls of our homes. Stories about things that hunger. I always thought they were just that. Stories. We have a well. It sits at the very edge of the village, where the cracked farmland gives way to the endless, thorny scrub of the desert. It's called the Piazzi Devi Kakwan, the well of the thirsty goddess. Nobody has drawn water from it in my grandfather's lifetime, or his father's before him. The stone lip is crumbling, and the acacia bushes have grown over it like a thorny cage. My grandmother used to say it doesn't want water, it wants names. Last week, my cousin Kairav came from Delhi. He's 2 years older than me, full of city noise and cynicism, with headphones always in his ears and a smirk that made you feel like an idiot for believing in anything. He called our traditions superstitious bullshit. That first night, while my mother was making chai, he pointed out toward the twilight haze where the well was. "So that's the spooky hole in the ground you were all scared of as kids?" My mother's hand stopped mid-pour. "Kairav, don't talk about that place." Her voice was flat, dangerous. It listens. He just laughed, a loud barking sound that felt wrong in the quiet of our courtyard. Listens to what? The goats? Later that night, long after my parents' snores had settled into a rhythm, Kairav shook me awake. The moonlight cut a sharp white line across the floor. "Come on, Tejas," he whispered, his phone screen glowing on his face. "Let's go bust your village ghost. I'm bored as hell." Every nerve in my body screamed no. I could feel my grandmother's warnings like a cold hand on my neck. But I was 19. I didn't want him to go back to Delhi and tell his friends how his hick cousin was afraid of a hole. So, like a fucking idiot, I followed him. The silence on the walk there was a physical thing. It pressed in, muffling the usual night sounds of insects and distant dogs. The air grew thick and still, heavy with the smell of dust and something else, something damp and old, like a cellar that had been sealed for 1,000 years. The well was a black wound in the earth under the moonlight. Kairav, trying to act brave, swaggered up to it and shined his phone's flashlight down into the shaft. The beam was swallowed. It hit nothing. Just endless, suffocating black. "See?" he said, but his voice was tight. Nothing but a stupidly deep hole. He picked up a loose chunk of sandstone from the wall and tossed it in. We leaned over, listening for the distant splash. But there was no sound, not a clatter, not a plink, nothing. The stone just vanished, absorbed by the silence. The absence of the sound was worse than any noise could have been. Then we heard it. It started deep, deep below. A slow, rhythmic sound. Slap, slap, slap. It wasn't a heartbeat. It was wetter. Like someone was beating a heavy, drenched cloth against stone. A cold dread, slick and oily, slid down my spine. "What the fuck is that?" Kairav whispered, his bravado gone. Before I could answer, the slapping stopped, and a voice slithered up from the darkness. It wasn't a shout. It was a whisper that felt like it was born inside my own ear, intimate and rotten. It whispered a name. Anahita. I didn't know the name, but Kairav did. I saw it on his face. His skin went gray. He stumbled back, dropping his phone. The light went out. He told me later, his voice shaking, that Anahita was a girl he'd been seeing in Delhi. A secret, he'd never said her name here. Then the voice whispered again, this time for me. It said a single word. A word I had scribbled in a notebook and hidden under my bed when I was 10. The name of an imaginary friend I was too ashamed to ever tell anyone about. I grabbed Kairav's arm and we ran. We didn't look back. We just ran, gasping for air. The sound of our own panicked feet loud in the deafening silence of the desert. The next day, Kairav tried to pretend it was nothing, a trick of the wind, an echo. But he couldn't stop looking over his shoulder, and he jumped every time a door creaked. The house felt wrong. The water in our clay mat cast had a film on it and tasted of stale earth. My mother's prayer beads, which she kept on a hook by the door, were found on the floor, arranged in the shape of a crooked, leering eye. That night, it got worse. The slapping sound returned. This time, it wasn't far away at the well. It was inside the house, coming from the big clay water pot in the kitchen. Slap, 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 like something was trapped in there, patiently trying to get out. Kairev and I locked ourselves in my room. We didn't sleep. Sometime after midnight, the whispering started again. Not from the kitchen, but from the walls around us, from the ceiling above. Kairav, Tejas, over and over. It wasn't just a voice anymore, it was learning. It started to imitate my mother's voice, then my father's, twisting their familiar tones into something hungry and mocking. The next morning, Kairav was gone. His bed was empty, but his wallet and phone were still on the nightstand. His sandals were by the door. I knew, God, I knew. I ran. I didn't even put on my own shoes. I ran until my lungs felt like they were full of hot sand, all the way to the well. The air was so thick it was hard to breathe. The slapping sound was loud now, constant, coming from the blackness below. And I saw him. Kairav was standing at the edge, his back to me. He was rocking back and forth on his heels, humming a tuneless, awful melody. He was scooping up handfuls of dry dirt and slowly, deliberately, pouring it into his own mouth. Kairav, I screamed, my voice cracking. He stopped and turned, very slowly. His eyes, they weren't his. They were just holes, empty and black and depthless. Dirt caked his lips and chin. His mouth stretched open, wider than it should, and a voice came out. Not his voice. It was a chorus of thin, stretched whispers, like 100 drowning people trying to speak through a single throat. It likes names, the chorus rasped. It wants yours now, Tejas. He lunged. It wasn't a human movement. It was jerky, like a puppet whose strings were being pulled from below. I scrambled backward, falling, and kicked out. My foot connected with his chest, and he staggered back, a look of brief, terrible surprise flashing in those empty eyes before he toppled, silent as the stone he'd thrown, over the edge and into the well. I didn't hear him land. I don't remember running back. The village elders found me collapsed in the main path, babbling and bleeding from my hands and knees. When I told them what happened, through gasps and sobs, their faces were grim but not surprised. My grandmother held me and wept, saying the Pyasi Devi had taken another. They said Kairav was gone. There was no one to get back. They burned incense and left offerings of marigolds and ghee at the well, begging it to be satisfied. But it isn't. I'm hiding because last night I heard the slapping sound again. It was coming from inside my bedroom wall, right behind my head. And then the whispers started. My name, over and over. Just now, just before I ran here, I was in my room, and I heard it, not from the wall, I heard it from my own closet. A soft, wet slap, and a whisper that sounded exactly like Kairav. Let me in, Tejas. I'm in my neighbor's pantry. It's dark, and it smells like lentils and old wood. But a minute ago, I started to smell something else. Wet earth. The smell of the well. The thumping isn't in the walls anymore. It's not in the closet. It's coming from the other side of this door. Slap, slap, slap. It's getting louder. It knows where I am. The lock on the door just made a noise, a soft little click. Oh God, it's open.